you look at that? We are back with another video, darling. I pray that all of you guys are in your right mind. You're feeling energized about the new year. Um, we're back with another video and 600 tribe members. Now, listen, when I retired, I've been retired, what, 4 now, almost 5 years or so. When I retired from the health and wellness industry and just from working in general, I really did not want to come back to any kind of social media. But I got a little bored. I'm a creative being, so I needed to get an outlet. I came back to YouTube, thinking on a low level that I can still share what I've been able to gain and those things. But I'm surprised that you guys were able to find me and you find the information that I have here helpful. So thank you for bringing this old woman out of retirement. I appreciate you. Today we're talking about the beautiful, lovely Lori Harvey. This socialite has made such an impact on young girls and or older women, I would say within the last 5 to about 8 years or so, okay? The first two photos that I showed were when she was at her highest energetically. And I'm going to explain what I mean by that. This photo here, still high energetically. And I'm going to explain what I mean. Okay, there's something that young women need to understand. Okay, as you are experiencing life, you are growing, you are changing, you're rearranging, okay? You are learning more and more about yourself every day. And I believe I said this in one of the Lori Harvey videos. I don't know if it was the update video that I did of her or the video that I did I'm not sure, but I did mention that it was important for Lori to never see herself through the eyes of others. Because at that moment, when you start to see yourself through the eyes of others, you start to lose your magnetic power. And the reason why you lose your magnetism by doing that is because you begin to start to pick away at yourself. The thing that made you beautiful to begin with, the thing that made you different, the thing that made you just sheer beauty, you start to pick at it because you start to see yourself through the eyes of others. You start to really hone in on your imperfections and pick away at them. And the imperfections become highlighted when you start to hear the voices of others. And especially when the loudest voice in your own head becomes those on the outside, you lose your power. Now, in this young lady's case, she happens to have a mother who is going to cover her regardless. But let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. Here is some hot wisdom for young girls and even women. When the outside voices get louder than your own head, and louder than the covering that you have. In this case, it will be her mother or her grandmother's covering. When the voices of your friends, your colleagues, the industry, the guys that you've dated, and all the people, when their voices become louder, you start to pick away at yourself, okay? And you're no longer as rooted as you once were. But what I'm going to share with you is that this happens to everyone. She's not going through something remotely different than any one of us will go through. We're all going to go through that uprooting. I alluded to that in the video that I did of her when I said I said something to the point of, or not sure what my direct quote was. Perhaps we can add it here in this video. But I recall saying that it's important for Lori to make sure that she does not see herself through the eyes of others. Okay? And I also said that the world hasn't knocked her down a few pegs just yet. In the video that I did of her, I mentioned how she was interacting with Jay-Z in that moment and how she was well aware of using that energy. When the world knocks you down a few pegs, you get uprooted and you forget who you are at your core. This photo that we're showing right here, she was going through an energetic change here, okay? Now, when we talk about energetic change and we're talking about uprooting, we're talking about the outside voices being louder than your own, what starts to happen is an insecurity about who you are and what you have to offer the world. And that stuff can change how magnetic you are. It can change how you draw people in quite naturally. The other thing that it can change is this, and this is extremely important. This is the lesson of today, okay? When you are a rare beauty, much like this young lady was, okay? When you're a rare beauty and you are you can you can attract a certain level of people, a certain caliber of people when you are a rare beauty. But I want to share something with you. If you guys have your books, pull it out because this is a huge lesson. Do you guys recall when the elder and Asana was laughing? Asana was laughing with the elder about a rich man from a far land that was trying to get with Asana. He never met Asana a day in his life. She had never met him. But do you know how he knew of her? He knew of her because of her reputation. And the elder teaches Asana, as well as all the women of the village, that there's one thing that's going to precede you forever and a day. And it's very difficult to clean up after it's ruined. And that is your reputation. Your reputation will go through doors before you even physically go through them. Your reputation, you will leave it behind long after you're gone. Your reputation can open opportunities for you. It will speak for you. And when you are a rare beauty with an impeccable reputation, men from all over the world will come seeking you out. That was the purpose of me writing that story. That story where Asana was laughing with the elder. Remember what she said to the elder? He never bed me. BED. Now, back in those days, when a woman said, I wasn't put to bed or I didn't get put to bed, that means I didn't have any children by that person, right? He never bed me could also mean that he never went to bed with me or slept with me. And Asana understands that there's power in that, in reserving who gets to enter into your gates. It gives you the opportunity to be highly sought after when not everyone has had you. Here's where I'm going, and listen to me, okay? This is not just for Lori, okay? This is for any woman that's listening to this. That story that I wrote when the elder and Asana was laughing, they were laughing at the fact that they understood that Asana was able to retain her power. Every time you let someone in your gates, remember, Asana is receiving that energy, right? I mean, a woman is receiving and the man is taking. And you guys know that in the chapter of the masculine and feminine where I compared the two, right? Go to that chapter to understand that thought. But Asana was laughing because he had never met her, but he was willing to pay money. He was willing to travel miles to come and get her because you know why? Women who are extremely beautiful, that not many people have had, they are highly sought after women. Highly sought after women are women who have attained a status in Asanahood. What makes Asana powerful beyond measure is that not many people have had her. She's a certain caliber of woman, okay? And she doesn't give herself up easily because she understands how valuable it is to hold or to reserve her goodness. That's why her and the elder were laughing. They were laughing because the lesson here is to reserve your energy. It allows you the opportunity to pick and to choose. You get to choose the best of the best when you are rare, when you are different, when no one can put a name on you, okay? And what I mean by putting a name on you is someone saying that I had you, we had you, they had you. You get to choose, okay? Because now you are a higher caliber. Now listen to me. The elder will tell you that in the animal kingdom, all right, rules are the rules, whether you like them or not, whether they're idiotic, whether or not they make sense, whether or not they're logical. The way a man and a woman will mate has been the same forever and a day and will always be the same forever and a day. And there are going to be some things that make no sense at all. But we're talking about on a primal level here, right? We're talking about deep inside of our psyches, how we mate with one another. And it's not a fair game. The world would never could never see there as equal. Let me tell you what we have here. In Hut Wisdom, we teach both men and women that we are complementary to one another, okay? Equally human, equally both bleeding the same blood. But we have responsibilities to one another that might differ. And sometimes those things might change depending upon our circumstances. And so we might have to fall back in line with what's complementary to the overall relationship and on our ability to mate or relate to one another. Okay? Now, keeping in mind that relatability, being able to relate to one another, and we're talking about mating, all right? Men will always see women as they see women. And for some reason, no matter how idiotic this sounds, men want to view women as these precious things. They want to, on one hand, see women as these precious things. All right? These precious soft things. And when women go against that, meaning some of us are stronger than others, louder than others, we're human, right? When we flex that human side of us, they have a hard time adjusting. They should. They should have a hard time adjusting with that, okay? But when we're talking about mating in general, we must understand that there are going to be some taboos that men on a primal level can never accept because it is a part of biology. It's a part of mating. It's a part of tribalism. Knowing that I'm going to sleep with this woman here is important for me to know what her past was like. That's based in survival mechanisms. That's also biology. So the elder teaches us that the way men see women is not going to always make sense to women. It's not going to make sense at all, in fact. Some of it may never ever be logical. But we're talking about something that's deeply rooted in biology, deeply rooted in primal urges and desires to want to have your seed survive. No man wants to battle inside of the womb with another man, if you understand what I'm saying. And what I mean by that is that no man wants to follow up behind another man unless unless this is a casual thing. This is why the elder makes sense to the women. This is why she specifically irons out you choose. Because you have a right to choose what kind of life you want to live, but you must understand that there are going to be some repercussions for whatever you choose, right? It's your choice. In this case, I want you guys to understand that regardless of the way you choose to live your life, it's going to impact your life, period. Okay? Every man that you attach to, whether you bed them or not, whether you went to bed with them or not, it's going to be with you. PR stunt or not, it's going to be with you. Truthful or not, it's going to be with you. It's extremely important to protect your name. It's extremely important to protect your reputation because those things are extremely difficult to clean up. View the chapter on reputation and you'll understand what I mean. What was the elder talking about? If you are going to be a woman who is highly sought after, you must be a woman not easily to get. I'm going to say that one more time. If you want to be a woman that's highly sought after, you must be a woman that's not easy to get. Now, the other part of that is that once you are overexposed, or once your face is everywhere, or a man can see your face on the face of every other woman, now you're not as rare as you used to be. Now you are common, okay? You're just a common woman at this point, which is not a bad thing if that's what you choose to do. But there's a separate side I want you to look at, okay? There's an energetic exchange that happens when you become overexposed or when you become out in the front, out there on the time, out there on your own, easily accessible to anyone and anybody can get to you at any moment. You now become less in demand. You become less desirable by the man. A lot of women will say, I'm not living for the male gaze. And the elder will say, well, if you are looking to mate, then that will be a silly thing to think. If you're not looking to mate a male, then that works perfectly fine. But once you become less in demand by men, you become highly in demand by women. So now you attract the feminine energy. You can have fans and friends, women all around you. But if you open your eyes and take a look, there'll not be a man in sight. That's today's lesson. Until next time, be empowered, be inspired, and be well.